Hello and welcome to intro number 3. Your body is a pillar of light. And we will be talking about all sorts of very interesting things today. But just to let you know, in the class earlier at noon today, or my noon, 1 p.m. Eastern, there were some photos that somebody brought in to the second half, and we discussed like the different face shapes and stuff. So even if you don't watch the replay from the actual class, but just scroll back to the end where we talk about the photos, that might be an interesting thing that may or may not happen tonight because, Mike's not here. So if you guys have some photos, we can maybe analyze them at the end or give some pointers. But first, how many of you guys know, how many of you already know that your body is a pillar of light? Anybody?
Heard said before.
Do you
Oh,
know?
definitely. Yeah, that's a given.
Right. Lauren, you raised your hand, or you mean you already know?
Sorry, I meant that I was raising my hand as I already know. Thank you.
Nice. So yes, so your body is a pillar of light, but the way it works is like a part of your soul. Your soul essentially is the light source. It enters the physical body, and then your physical body carries that piece of soul with you all your life. And how much or how little you shine your soul outwards. Let me just show you this cute little baby here. How much or how little you shine of your soul depends on what happens to you and how you dealt with the things that are happened to you. So as you can see, this beautiful little baby hasn't had so many experiences that would make it doubt itself, hasn't had so many things, like I'm referring to it by the way, because I don't know if it's a boy and a girl, and in my language it's actually children are considered it, so I don't know. If that offends anybody, I apologize. But this baby had, you can look into his eyes or its eyes, and you can see the shining light behind. This person has only had trust and love and acceptance, and therefore they have no doubt, no reason to doubt. They have no reason to question themselves or to wonder if the sharing that they do with the outside world will be accepted or not. Because a lot of the time what happens is when you're a small child, you excitedly go and you want to share of yourself with the people. You want to share the poem or the song that you learned or the idea that you discovered. And you go up to an adult, maybe even a well-meaning adult, and you say, yes, here it is, this thing. And you're excited and you're sharing, and they tell you to calm down, that you're singing too loud, or that your poem doesn't rhyme, or something is wrong with whatever you're saying. And then it's like a pushback, and then people tend to curl into themselves and hide their heart and hold back expression. And every time this kind of interaction happens, every time somebody puts you down, or maybe even corrects you in a, well, no, you can't be an artist, you need to be an accountant, because accountants make money and artists, they starve. And oh no, you can't do this, oh no, you shouldn't do this, oh no, you shouldn't travel by yourself because it's dangerous, and people who travel by themselves often get attacked or lost. No, 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 you can't do that. And every time you hear these well-meaning no's, you might hold yourself back, and not even realizing that you can shine your light differently than anybody else. That person may not be as capable or not have your abilities or your knowledge or whatever. And so they're not you. They can't tell you what you shouldn't be doing. You need to consult your soul. So, what were we looking about? So yes. So who can protect you from that? Who can help you with that? So once you're born, and then all these corrections happen from other people, and then suddenly what? Suddenly you're shut down, and maybe you don't even know who you really are anymore, and maybe you can't even remember who you were as a 5-year-old. Who can get you out of that? What can get you out of that? Well, what can get you out of that is your inner parents. Talked about it a little bit already. So when you understand that every single person that interacts with you is essentially a 4-year-old, they do have other aspects, but there is always that a 4-year-old aspect to them. And looking at the person through the lens of their inner child, it allows you to take some distance, because we might be upset and riled up in the conflict with another person, like myself included. I'm not a saint, but we can be upset or riled up in a conflict with somebody else. But then if we realize that that person is just another child, they don't have any power over you. You're an adult. Once you're an adult, they have no power over you. As long as you're still a child, as long as you're still learning how to tie your shoes and how to make yourself a cup of tea, they do have power over you because you need to learn from them. But once about 20 hits, depends on the person, how early or late that happens, then it's up to you to take over. But what happens is, because in our society, there's like no real coming of age ceremony. And a lot of the responsibility that humans in our society have, it's deferred, like there's insurance companies and there's the government and there's the doctors and the lawyers, and everybody can take responsibility for you and take that burden of learning and figuring things out and stuff off your plate. So as a human, you don't really have the ability or the inclination maybe to stand in your own power, because there's no time where they say, okay, childhood's over now you're going to be an adult, now you're going to be responsible for yourself. And that's the day when you take that upon yourself, then you realize that everything that happened in your life is essentially your fault. Like, it might have been someone else doing it and there could have been a perpetrator or whatever, but essentially anything that happens is up to you. There's no one saving you. There's no one protecting you. There's no magical government that's going to come and swoop down and save you from yourself. You are, and I struggle with this as well. So, don't get me wrong, but you are your own savior. You are your own mother and father. And if you're going to step forward and move forward with your life and remove some of that programming that's been put into you, then it is up to you to create that inner dialogue, the inner mother and father that you can really count on, that you can really rely on, that you can really be working with on developing yourself, on developing who you really are, releasing all these external factors from responsibility for you, because that was never meant to be anyway. Once you're an adult, there doesn't have to be anybody responsible for you. You are responsible for yourself, for your feelings, for your reactions, for your financial status, for everything that happens to you. It's up to you. It's not up to anybody else. I meant to tell you more about the pillar of light. So when the pillar of light is inside you, and then those people question you or tell you no, or something happens, or they criticize you, or when you try to share with your heart and they don't like what you're doing and they shut you down, right? Every time that happens, it's like a little chip was taken. And what my mentor calls it is diamond in the dog shit. You have all these beautiful shining diamonds inside you, and then these people are flinging dog shit at you, and it's covering up your light. And some people's light can't even shine. It's like trying to shine a light through a piece of paper with a bunch of little holes in it. Not much of it is going to get through, because you're all covered in the expectations of others, or judgments of others, or declarations of others, who you are, who you should be doing, how you should be doing it, what's good for you, what's bad for you, and all of these things. That's not really relevant to who you are, because the only person that can raise you, the only person that knows exactly what your abilities, your talents, your morals, your proclivities, whatever, everything about you is you. That's the only person that knows you. No one can effectively give you any advice on any topic at all, because those other people are not you. They can only tell you what they could or couldn't do. They can't tell you what you can't or couldn't do. And you know that because if you think about the people learning to read, right? Young children learning to read, you can't say when is the appropriate time for a child to learn to read, just like you can't say when is the appropriate time for a child to become an adult. You have to make the decision for yourself. Some children are really great at reading at 3 years old. Some children wait till 8 before they get comfortable with reading. So it can, depending on the person's proclivities, depending on how they process information, depending how their development works, depending on what they're exposed to. you know, it could be so many different factors that create that perfect, you know, growth environment where the person learns how to read, where the person becomes an adult, where the person takes responsibility for themselves. So when you do walk around with all that light covered up, it takes a lot of energy to keep covering up your light, to not be shining your light, to not be who you were meant to be. And you have to remember that, according to whatever I read and I believe, you are the only person who can do your job on this world. There are other people who can do something similar. There are lots of people, and each person has a different mission or different vision or different essence that they can impart and share with the world. But you're the only one who can impart that essence with the world. You're the only one who has your particular combination of traits. And so if you allow yourself to be covered up, to not, you know, that light under a bushel, the biblical thing, if you allow yourself to hide who you really are from the world for your whole lifetime, you're more than welcome to die with your light still inside you and never shining on the world. But it behooves you, and especially the people in this room, freedom fighters, people who are interested in creating a better world, people who are really the people who are leading our society, our humanity into a better world. It behooves you to really like look at yourself and really understand where you're coming from and allow or not allow the programming to take over. Like be so firm and so solid within who you are and how you are that the stuff that's written on the magazines in the grocery store will no longer affect you. You'll no longer see it. You'll no longer play the game of comparison or judgment, because that's not appropriate for a person who's fully empowered. That's for the people who are still growing and still learning, and they might play the innocent judgment games, or, you know, like comparing purses and riches and whatever, clothes, things that are really irrelevant to who you really are and how you're shining your light on the world. What else? Oh, yes. So we were talking about communication and how we communicate with others. So according to, I have to always read this dude's name, Albert Mehrabian's analysis. He was a psychologist, and he figured out that 7% of communication is in the words, the actual meaning of the words. 28% is my tone and how I'm delivering it to you, my volume, the reverb of my voice, and all of these factors. And 55% comes from body language. So if you think about it, that makes sense that one could understand and communicate with somebody who is doesn't speak their language at all. You can have a normal conversation, no, not a normal conversation, but you can have a conversation with someone who doesn't speak your language at all, because you can communicate with your body, you can communicate with scraps of words, or maybe just the tone. And, you know, there are so many ways to communicate with other humans. But if that's the case, if you're a freedom fighter, if you're somebody who's here hoping to assist humanity in waking up and strengthening, you know, that reverse crabs in the bucket, because, you know, the crabs in the bucket, they will always pull every other crab back into the bucket. Even if the crab reaches on the edge and it's got the edge, the other crabs in the bucket will pull him back, trying to climb out. But we at Autonomy and you know, in these freedom circles, we're here to support each other, to push the other crab out of the bucket, to really create that environment where we're all supporting each other. And there's no such thing as competition, no such thing as comparison, no such thing as putting other people down in order to put yourself up. Because if everybody is in their power, it doesn't behoove them. It's not a good scene. It's not a good look to be putting other people's down. That it disempowers the person who's doing it. So if you want to keep your power, playing judgment or whatever, all these games that we play, all the games. And again, I have to recommend, I'm sure all of you guys heard this, but King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, for both men and women. It's an amazing book, and it can really open your eyes at the little games that you play inside your own head, where you're pretending to be the king, but you're really being a high share tyrant, you know? There's all of these different nuances that they two guys, Moore and Gillette, really describe really well in that book. And I would say it applies equally to women as men. Maybe the terms are masculine, but the actual actions are just as applicable to women as to men. So why does it make a difference? Why does it make a difference? Why does it matter? It's because when you're sharing your very important message, when you're communicating whether with other people, your body will tell them all of the things that you're not expressing. And they can see on some level. They may not be able to pinpoint it like I can. Oh, the left shoulder was held back, or their hands were under the table or something. They may not be able to pinpoint exactly what are the things that are making them uncomfortable or not be able to hear your message, but they will always have a feeling about it. So if you can clean up your body language to express exactly the same thing as your words and your tone, and everything goes in congruence, then people will believe you and they'll hear you and they'll accept what you're saying much more readily than if you're all twisted up about it and trying to con them into understanding, because it's just sharing your power straight up. That's how you get to communicate with people, I already covered that. Okay, so I put a little bit in the manual, I put a little chunk about the words to avoid and their replacements. And we will go deeper into that in the course when we talk about throat chakra and all that in the actual long course. But you just have to remember and understand that when you're managing your inner kindergarten, every time you talk, you say all those things that the people said to you that you didn't like when they said to you. But somehow what we do is we record those negative messages in our head. And then we repeat them to ourselves whenever we're stressed. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Oh my God. Look, my mom knew that I wasn't very good at this. They always said I wasn't good at this. And all of these things, that actually continues to put more dog shit on the diamonds, continues to cover up who you really are. So just understanding that in your kindergarten, in your inner world, those kind of words, those kind of criticisms are inappropriate. And the one filter, like I could tell you, I could sit here and give you lists or words or whatever. But in reality, the one little filter that you can use every single time is if whatever you're saying to yourself would not be appropriate to say to a 4-year-old child, you shouldn't be saying it to yourself. So if there's a physical baby sitting next to you, a 4-year-old, and they're, coloring or whatever, and if you were to take your mental stream, what you're thinking about yourself, and put that onto that child, speak that to that child, would you feel comfortable? Would that be child abuse? Could you get arrested? All these things are really meaningful, because if your inner dialogue is so inappropriate that you would be in trouble or get arrested or maybe feel like a jerk for saying that to a small child, then maybe you shouldn't be saying that to yourself. You're not helping yourself shine your light. You're not helping yourself sit in your power. You're not helping yourself stand up for who you really are if you're disempowering yourself. And out of habit, we do that all the time. And not only do we do that, but like I mentioned earlier today, the magazine racks, the television, and all this other media is designed to disempower us. Why? Because the golden light, the gold, the aura that's inside you, the shiny golden essence of your spirit is actually connected to the demon network and the harvesting all of your good energy. So they can't have you feeling too good. They have to give you in fear, judgment, jealousy, comparison in order to not. Yes, Lauren, I suppose you would know. But yeah, no, would you say that to your child? The way you speak to yourself? Lauren spoke out, so now I'm going to pull her out to the front of the class.
No, absolutely not. Never.
But why? Would you get arrested?
Oh gosh. Probably not arrested, but I would definitely be called a bad parent.
And you know, these 4-year-old external children, we put them in, you know, nice chairs and we give them coloring books and stuff. And your inner child, we lock them up into a cupboard under the stairs like Harry Potter. And then we wonder why our manifestation or our reality or intuition don't work. But all of those abilities are filtered right through the inner child. You can't effectively manifest. You can't effectively understand or hear reality, hear what's being said to you in the inner world, as long as you're constantly criticizing yourself. Because how are you going to know what's the right voice? How are you going to be able to tell the inner critic from the inner voice? And even if you can't tell for a minute, the inner critic will pipe up and give you doubt. So just developing, you know, abilities to see and understand the world will be so damaged if you allow the inner critic to take charge inside your head, inside your kindergarten. That's like putting a Nazi in charge of a kindergarten. There were different kinds of Nazis. So yes, it's very important. The words that you speak to yourself are very important, and you can choose every single day, every single minute. Like, it doesn't matter how you've been all your life. It doesn't matter what your parents said to you, your grandparents said to you. You're over 20. Every single person in this room is over 20 years old. And that means that it's now up to you. It's now up to you to really be a good example for yourself. And more importantly for yourself than other people, because if you're allowing all of this stuff to go on in your head and you're thinking it's all hidden and nobody's going to know that you're speaking all these bad things to yourself, whenever you're stressed out, whenever you're uncomfortable, that will spill out your mouth onto other people. Your habitual inner dialogue will come out. So you have to be very careful, because you don't want to be spilling out this nonsense onto other people, or even you don't want them to know that this nonsense lives within you. So nice. I like your suggestions, Marshall. I'm going to have to add or read the asteroid goddesses and then maybe add it to my recommendation list. So yes, we've talked about this. We've talked about everything. Yes. So the sovereign adulthood, what I know in the manual, what I named sovereign adulthood. It's like, how are you going to bring yourself to be an adult, but the kind of adult that you would trust if you were a small child? If when you were 4, you would find that adult friendly and trustworthy and supportive, because that's the kind of adult that you want to be for your inner child. Any questions? Uh-oh, there's no questions. Is everybody still thinking about what I said?
I mean, it all makes sense. I don't know that I would have any question about it, because, I mean, I know that you're right about what you've said. It's just applying it in my own life to myself. It is one thing that I have no idea how I raised 3 very self-confident kids. Like, I look at them and, they walk with such confidence, and I'm sure that they have things within themselves that they're not confident about. But man, they put off that aura, and I'm thinking, where in the world did they get that from? But I did my best to break the chain of, when I would hear my mom talking badly about herself, and I tried not to do that. Even though I felt it about myself, I didn't verbalize it with my children. And so my kids really, they don't have that. So now I gotta get to work on myself, I guess.
Yeah, and just to understand that you have to have patience with yourself. And if you were able to talk nicely to all these children and they grew up well, then you deserve the same kind of mothering that you give to them. Like, why are you getting a different mother?
Yeah.
Like it's like those the Cinderella and the stepsisters, right? Your kids are the stepsisters and you're the Cinderella and you're also the stepmother.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. My mom was always complimentary and kind to me, but would, diss herself in front of me. And I mentioned this to you, I believe it was in the women's group, that my mom once looked like me but had, you know, her nose fixed and other things. And so I looked at that and go, my mom once looked like me and she didn't like it, so she fixed it, you know. So even though she was telling me how beautiful I was, I didn't feel it, because, like, if she really felt that way, why would she have changed that in herself?
Yeah, but people are weird. She probably thinks you're beautiful, but she wasn't. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah,
my mom's got this thing about her neck, and she'll never be sitting like this with her neck out. She'll always have a scarf because she thinks that her neck is super thin, and that because her neck is super thin, her head looks like a little ball on a toothpick. And she honestly believes that that's how people see her. But her neck's like a normal neck. There's nothing wrong with her neck. Yes, she's got like a small roundish head and she's got like slim neck, but it does not look like a toothpick. And it looks just fine. And there's no need for the scarf. And it wasn't about the wrinkles on the front here at all, because she's been doing it since she was 10.
yeah. I mean, I
Somebody
probably
said.
somebody told her that, in elementary school or something, and she internalized it. My son came home one day in middle school and said, I didn't even realize I had big ears or pointy ears or whatever he said. I'm like, because you don't. Like, what are you even talking about? But some kid told him he had pointy ears, and then he just fixated on that for the longest time. And it's so sad, when you see somebody, take on somebody else's shit.
Yeah, but everybody does. We all do, right?
Right. Indeed.
You could have told your son that the coolest fictional characters have pointy ears. Vulcan, elves, come on. Nobody wants to be an orc, but everybody wants to be an elf, right?
Right.
And the guy that said it sounds like an orc. Anybody else? Comments, questions, suggestions?
Yeah, I got a question. Can we use invocation? I'm not talking about invocation in like the magical cross and circle. Just in daily life, invoke the latent archetypes that we know we're lacking. Is that a useful practice?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually thinking you meant invocation for this session. I was like, oh, well, that's a good idea. Maybe we should do an invocation at the beginning of these sessions. But to invoke the archetypes or invoke the ancestors, those are all good practices, because those are not, you're not calling on demons or anything. You're ensuring that they're the benevolent entities that will help you out, but at the same time, archetypes and ancestors are safe choices. Yes, Travis.
Uh, do you have any suggestions on how one might correct their self-talk? Because I am vicious to myself. And I mean, sometimes I'm like, I catch myself and I'm like, that's unnecessary, because I wouldn't say that to somebody else. And sometimes maybe to my wife.
But yeah, I do. And so for your wife too, like you could grab some photos do you have any photos from when you were a child? You were like 4?
My mom might. I don't really have any photos of myself, really.
Well, so either a photo of you when you were 4 years old or a photo of your own child at that age. And then really meditate on that. Look at that little innocent face and think about how you're speaking to yourself. This is who you are, and like reconnecting, because the thing is, if you've been keeping your inner child in this cupboard under the stairs for the last 20 or 30 years or whatever, however many years you've been locking that person away, that's an aspect of who you are. It's always present inside you. And the whispers of the inner child, like the little suggestions that it does, will always lead you in the right direction. Like, you know, the inner child's not the trickster part of you, it's the innocent part of you, it's the pure part of you. But it sometimes will say weird things. You know, like I know that in working with my own intuition, I've had some weird suggestions, like, you know, go to a certain place and do a certain thing. And I was just like, what, really? But then it works out, you know, you really, if you start really listening to these things. Or my favorite lately, you know, there's a spider in that shoe. And my brain didn't say spider. My brain said, there's a tarantula in the shoe. And there was a tarantula in the shoe specifically and very loud. And so, you know, when you're working, and lately I've been noticing it more and more, how it's becoming louder and louder. But just remembering that, you know, indulging yourself in these bully practices, like you're like a schoolyard bully to yourself. You know, maybe you should watch a movie with some bullies in it and like compare yourself. You know, people picking on other people and how uncomfortable that is to watch, and then understanding that that's who you are. Just really like dislodge that programming from your head or reprogram it to something that will serve you and your family.
Thank you for the suggestions.
Yeah. Yeah, the meditation with the inner child is very powerful, or with the child photo. You know, like in the meditation, like I have it written somewhere. We probably do that in the next few months. But it's like you take your child onto your lap and you hold him there and you imagine holding him there and you reconnect with him, and, you know, you talk to him and you remember what his favorite foods and favorite games and favorite friends, and, you know, all of these little details about who you were before all the dog shit.
Okay, thank you. It's you've given me a lot to think about. Like I'm gonna try some things. Thank you.
Nice, nice. I like what Dale said in the chat. Everything grows with love. And also where your attention goes, right? Where does if your attention goes to your flaws, the flaws will become more apparent in your eyes and will be more in your way. But if your attention goes to your talent will grow as well. So just remember. And imagine, like, so when we have a 4-year-old child, like a physical 4-year-old child that we take care of, you know, we really think about that child every day. Like, oh, you know, what's he going to eat? How can I make sure that he has a balanced breakfast, right? Oh, I better put some fruit on the plate, or I better put some veggies on that plate, you know. Oh, you know, what's he going to, you know, he's really needing to learn this skill, or this ability is something we're developing. Let's make sure we spend some time with the child on that skill or on that ability. This is really important to him. Let's make sure we go there and we experience that thing that the child likes. You know, all of these things that we would do for a 4-year-old that's not internal. How can we do that for yourself? How can you raise yourself right? Because the default is to keep repeating all the sentences that our parents said to us in our head for the rest of our lives, and die with that recording still present in our head. And where's that going to take you? How's that going to help you? And the weirdest part about this, you guys, it's just the strangest part, because it doesn't mean that the parents actually said those things. Like as a small child, somebody said something and you remembered it and you recorded it, and you're like, Carol has this thing, and somebody said Carol the barrel. Okay, that maybe happened. But sometimes when children speak to adults and there is like a offhanded comment that passes, right? And the child will add all sorts of meaning to that comment. And then the child will go to bed and really think about that comment. Yeah, you know, she's right. I'm really not that good at it. And oh, wow, you know, and all of these stuff. And it'll, like, through thinking about the comment, it'll make it way more than the comment actually was or ever was meant to be. The mother was ironing, wanted the kid to leave the room, and said something flippant to get the kid to leave. But then the kid is like, and then years later, the mother has no idea that she ever even said that, or she never even thought that, or she never even felt that way. she just said something flippant. She didn't really, so the things that are recorded in her head may not even be true. They may be misappropriations or something we misheard. And sometimes people are evil, whatever, to us. So just understand that. Oh yeah, that was an evil. Who here wants to obey an evil person? It's like lining up for the jabby jabs. Right? There's no point. If the voices in your head are not supportive and not like, if you wouldn't expose your kids into them, don't expose yourself. I know I'm repeating myself now. Next question. Thanks, Charles. Anybody else? Do you have any photos? Does anybody here have any photos you would like me to analyze and tell me about the face shape or whatever? I know that Mike got photos, but do you guys want me to analyze like a family member or somebody?
Would you tell me, is my face oval, or is it? I thought it was oval, but I'm not sure.
Okay, you want to take off your glasses? I want to look at your face. Here, let me pin your face for a sec. So I see a lot of different things going on. Like generally your face is oval, but it's got some other tendencies, right? So in the top, we have the little bit of a widow's peak. And so what that means is the separation between the right side and the left side, the masculine and the feminine. So maybe you're controlling yourself, like you're feminine. It's like, oh, I want to draw or I want to color or something. And you're like, oh, that's silly. That's for children. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Maybe there's that kind of conversation going on inside where you're receiving your feminine, your feeling side might make a suggestion, and then the doing side is like, no. We already have a plan for today. We're not gonna, because the other, so your face is oval, but it's got a rectangular tendency. So it's almost like a combination of oval and a rectangle, because there's like a little bit of a strong jaw, like stubbornness in here, where you're like a bit of a brick wall where it comes to certain things. You might have really strong boundaries, or you might really push yourself, or you might like not allow yourself to rest if there's still work to do or something like that. You know what I mean? Like really like digging in and pushing yourself kind of thing. So I see a lot of that in the thing. And then I also see like a little flat bit at the bottom of your chin. So it's like, it's oval, but it's got a little flat bit. So it's like, you're flexible, but sometimes you're a brick wall.
I would say you nailed it. The whole thing. Right down to the coloring.
Well, you're welcome. I don't know.
Yeah. You had mentioned when I said, it is getting strange as I get older. I think it really started to happen once I turned 50, and looking in the mirror and seeing changes in my face and even my face shape. So, I've got this here that I didn't ever have before, and it's just, I catch myself in the mirror, and now I see pictures of myself. My mom will take these random pictures of me when we have our monthly birthday party, and I'm not smiling, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like it's horrifying. She always seems to take the very worst pictures of me, but
Right.
that's when I get a picture of myself where what I must look like, what I look like when I'm not smiling. So then I'm trying to make sure that at least I'm smiling with my eyes, because I have.
So you walk around the party just like.
Yeah, apparently I've developed, resting bitch face. So,
So maybe Maybe that is the lack of estrogen, you know, as we get older, the estrogen drops, and then you don't care so much about what other people think about you. You're not so people pleasing. You don't really want to fulfill their wishes. You would rather someone else make the tea. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get it. Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Jennifer, did you want to add something?
Agnieszka, I would love you to analyze my friend, but I don't have his like face picture, only like full, full height.
Okay, hang on a second. I just wanted to ask because Jennifer unmuted just before you, and then I'll go back to you. Okay, Svetlana?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
As far as the RBF goes, usually when I'm deep in thought, I have a RBF, but at work, my office door was always open and it was right in the public space. So everybody could see when I was deep in thought. So I kind of had to develop a new default face.
That would be terrible. I would want to put curtains up.
I like it. A default face.
Yeah.
So Marshall sent us David Icke to analyze. Okay, Svetlana, do you have your buddy to analyze? Do you want me to give you share screen permissions or what? I already did.
Yeah, but I was wondering, does it have to be like a face, like a real?
Well, we can see how much of his face we can see. I mean, you know, there are certain things we will be able to see and certain things we might not. So let's see what kind of picture it is. Like this
Okay.
morning when Mike was sharing pictures with the other class, a lot of the people had like chins up, and you can't really read that because I can't tell what your face shape is when you're like this, you know, or like this. It's really, you know, there's other things that you can see, but not that.
Okay. I need like 15 seconds.
Okay, no worries. We can take a look at David Icke here for a sec. So what do you guys see there? Oh, maybe let me bring him to this screen. Oh no, I didn't do that. Okay, so I'm sorry. I shared the wrong screen. Okay, that's okay. We can just keep him here. So what do I see? What do I see? I see a very rectangular, like almost like a square tendency, but it's almost like his jaw. I wonder, you know what? Let me just check what his face used to look like before, because let me just see. Because I wonder if when he was younger, he had a square face. Images. I want to find an image when he was younger. No, I guess not. I'll show you guys. One sec. It's just loading. Okay. So this is him when he was younger. And I see kind of the same. So it's a combination of rectangle on top, a bit of an oval on the bottom. He's probably squared out as he got older because people will get more stubborn and more set in their ways as they get older. Maybe when he was a journalist, like we'll think about his career, right? When he was a journalist, he might have had a weaker or more triangular chin, like we saw in that picture. Right? There was like a little bit less to his chin, and I'm sure we could probably find a better picture, but it wasn't as powerful. But then as he, you know, stepped more into his work and shining his light and doing his research and sharing that research with people, he became more set in his ways and he became stronger in the bottom chakras of the face. So it's almost like he's got a flat bottom where he can sit his face on the table and it will sit there, it won't topple. But then he's got that nice curve on either side, suggesting a bit of an oval tendency. So, you know, high ideals, humanitarian, working for the betterment of of humanity. There's a bit of a disconnect if you look at that line above his nose. That's a line between the heart chakra and the throat chakra. So somewhere here, but it's right here on the face. And that would signify that, you know, he's suppressing a lot of the things that he's saying. And so that would totally check out, because he's probably got way crazier stuff that he could be sharing with us, but he's only sharing a little bit, you know? He's not going as deep as he could most of the time. What do you think, Marshall? You're the one who shared the picture.
I'm interested in the lines on the side of his mouth and nose. They're deep set.
So the nose lines, those are the FU lines. You know, the I don't like what's going on, I don't like you, that kind of thing. You guys suck. And it's a lot more prominent on the left side. That could be part of the lighting, but we can still, you know, I think it's still more prominent on the left side. So on the feeling side. So he's feeling standoffish, and, you know, and then the lines on either side, like you can see his big lips, solid lips. He's very expressive. You can see the divot under his nose. He's very intuitive. But then the sides of the mouth, they do dip into that grief, sadness kind of thing. I would say on the right-hand side, it looks more like sadness. And on the left-hand side, it looks more like grief. But then if you look at the wrinkles on either side or his eyeballs, on the side of his eyeballs, most of the wrinkles are turning up. So that shows like an optimistic nature. And then some of the wrinkles are going down. But so when there's a majority of the wrinkles that go down, it's more like a sad person who's like spending a lot of time feeling sorry for themselves or whatever. But he's quite optimistic. His eyebrows, his eyes are very open, you know, he's showing his bright ideas with the world, and, you know, he's definitely shining his light in this picture.
His ears take up like the majority of the emotional space.
His ears are huge. They touch the mental and they touch the physical. But they're not like, yeah, but they're not like the kind of ears that, you know, you would raise red flags about his childhood or whatever. So that face here, let me stop sharing. That thing that he does, them. I used to do that a lot too. When I was younger, I was like always angry. I was angry at my father. So for me, it was on the right. And I was always like this, but he's doing it on the left-hand side. Unless the picture is flipped, but it seems like he's doing it on the left side. So that would be maybe resentment toward females in his life, mother, wife, sister. That could signify. It doesn't have to, but it could signify that, because it's specifically on one side.
Now I wish I would have picked Billy Idol.
Now you wish what?
I would have picked Billy Idol with that sneer.
Well, we can do more, I'm sure, you know. Yes, there is. You want to, so actually, Dale, I wanted you to explain the message that you sent earlier, but I also want you to comment on David Icke. So tell us what you see.
I'm not sure if my connection is very good here, so do you hear
I
me?
think you're good. You're good.
Okay. So, yeah, I noticed a big difference on his feminine and masculine side, which I think would be how he thinks logically, and then how he feels about things, which I think you were pointing out with like the lines. I also see like a difference in his eyes, and that could be age, like how the shape of the eyes are. But I could see he does focus really well because he has those two lines that go up right next to the inner parts of the eyebrow. And
Yeah.
then to me, his eyebrows aren't very thick on the outside, but it seems like if they were thicker, they would go down very, very steeply on the outside. So he does have a negative view on the world. And they kind of
Mm,
point downwards on the inner part. So I think he does have a little bit of negative
it's
opinion of
not so much
himself, but
negative, Dale. It's judgmental. It's judgment.
yes, okay, yes,
The eyebrow
exactly.
kind of thing.
Judgmental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
And I
doesn't.
think maybe he's judgmental of his early life, not what he's doing now, but on what he was doing when he was young, because he was part of the media. And I think he sees how that could have been very negative back in the day, but he was young. I don't know why that would be judgmental on himself.
He was much more flexible when he was younger. Now he's a much more stubborn. The eyebrows, they actually are much more strong on the inner world than the outer world. Like they're different on the inside versus the outside, and the imaginary line is the center of the eyebrow.
Definitely. Now, what do you think about his nose? Because it looks like there's even a small difference on the outside part of his nose,
It's just
on the
because he's
masculine
pulling
and
up.
feminine.
He's pulling up through his screw you. This is your solar plexus, right? So it's the judgment, right? The other thing you guys have to remember with this photo is that he is not as different from the left to the right as we think because of the lighting, because there's a shadow on part of his face. So we always have to remember that if that shadow falls, it's going to skew the results a little bit. Like, I'm not disagreeing with anything you said, Dale. I'm just saying be cautious how you read people with a shadow on the face.
Right. Like, you have to take in the full amount. Like, for instance, how he would stand. Like you were saying, it's all these different things that you have to put together.
That's right. But with him, we know that this line is very deep because we can even see his nose pulling up a little bit on that side. And even though that left eye is more open than the right eye, it's more in the shadow. But that shadow is not because of the eye being hooded, it's because of the shadow of the lamp being on the side. But the eyelid is obviously small, like more droopy on the masculine than the feminine.
It would be
Yeah, even as
interesting to,
Sorry, one at a time.
go ahead, Dale.
oh, I said it would be interesting to do that thing that you do where you divide the face. Because I think it's a very interesting picture that Marshall picked out.
I was
Yeah,
just gonna say the exact same thing. He almost looks younger on one side, on the feminine side. The other side looks like weathered and
well,
experienced.
so think about it. That other side is his intellectual side, sharing information with the world, giving, right? The feminine is receiving, understanding, but the masculine is giving, and he's really trying to give that information to the world, but it's hard because people tend to make fun of him, not believe him, he wants the whole world to like be lit on fire with his energy, but only a small percentage of people, more and more, but still believe him. Marshall, you were going to add something?
Oh no, that was it. Yeah, we were gonna say the same thing.
Svetlana, do you have your picture?
Still struggling with it. I
You can always bring it for next week. It's not a big deal. Hey, by the way, how come you're coming to the American class because you're up all night, aren't you? It's your job.
no, now I'm in America. It's 9 p.m. here.
Oh, all right. Now you're in America.
In
Oh,
Russia, it was much harder.
were you in the early class last time or in the late class?
I skipped the last one. My life is crazy with all this like moving and stuff.
Yeah, because I have a class at 1 p.m. as well, Eastern, as well as
Yeah.
8.
I'm gonna rewatch those I missed.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. All good. We can still answer questions for a few more minutes, you guys. It's not like I'm not strict about the time. I actually allotted an hour and a half for this class. So, you know, if you keep me behind, I'm cool.
What about ears would be concerning?
Well, so the ears that are really, really flat against the head would be the ones that you're pinning your ears, like you know how a dog would pin his ears when he's scared, that kind of energy. And the ears that are super, super sticking out would be like listening for everything. Like people from households where people yelled a lot and maybe like had drunk brawls and stuff often have ears like this, you know, where they stick out.
Agnieszka, I found a really good picture, but I'm not sure how to share it. I'm not that good with Zoom
Are you on your computer or on your phone?
on my computer.
So if you press that big green share button, you can share your screen.
Big, what?
Green at the bottom.
Big green at the bottom. Oh, share. So, but I can only share the whole screen. I cannot share. Oh, okay, I can. Yeah.
Yeah, make the picture the whole screen and then you can share the whole screen. Or however you do it.
Yeah, did that work?
It's still loading. Ooh, look at this dude. Who is this dude?
My friend, he's visiting me in New York right now.
Nice, nice. Okay, so I mean, it's rounded on top, obviously, but it's more like square at the bottom, right? Can you zoom in at all, Svetlana, with that zoom?
I'm not sure.
See that
I'm
plus
not
button
sure
with the lupa? See the lupa at the top with the plus button?
Yeah.
Click on that. I'm here to solve your problems,
You know?
Svetlana.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's good.
Now you have to put his face back on the screen. There we go. Okay, good. Okay, so this dude, let's see this dude. So square, so he would be kind of stubborn, set in his ways. He likes to have things his way, a certain way. He's a thinker. He's got a lot of intelligence. He might be thinking a lot, but he questions his own intellect sometimes, or questions his ability to share it with the outside world. And I see that because his right eye is a little bit pulled in. The bottom lid is pulled over the eyelid a little bit. The nose is solid, practical. He doesn't carry so much resentment. But the lips, there is like a thing in the lips, like severity, harshness. He doesn't express so much. His body, both his bottom and upper lip are quite repressed. Pushed down. Because remember, you guys, everybody has the same size lips. The size of your lips depend on how much tension you have in the muscles, right? So even the black dudes, they have like lips like this, right? They just like have a lot less tension around. They might have physically a little bit bigger lips, but a lot of it is the tension. So like if you look at black people in corporate America, a lot of them have small lips, right? It doesn't transfer necessarily. So just it's about how you process information and then energy. And so this dude has like, you know, inhibited sacral energy. So his creativity, he trusts his mental abilities, his analysis, his you know, his being smart over his creativity, sensuality. Even though he might even have a pretty good intuition innately, he's holding it back. What do you think about my analysis, Svetlana?
Well, it was spot on regarding he really loves having things his way. He's like, I'm really struggling. We've been together for 3 days. Like he's pushing me around and like whatever everything has to be his way for sure. And he's also very reserved. That's true. Like he doesn't share much. So you were like totally spot on those two. But I was wondering, he's also like really grumpy all the time, but that's probably not innate. That's because he had some traumatic experiences. I think personally, I don't know. So that probably wouldn't reflect.
Maybe. I mean, he just doesn't express much. She wouldn't tell you much because he doesn't say much, right? Even if he had traumatic experiences, he wouldn't necessarily tell you about it.
No, I mean, we've been close friends for quite a few years, so I know some things, but that took years to, to learn.
Yeah.
So I know he's like going through some internal pain, like he's depressed, like his main theme is like, okay, like I'm finishing my life here, like I have like this is, nothing good to expect from life and all these like depressing attitudes because at some point he had like some traumatic experience.
He doesn't have as shiny eyes as David Icke.
Mm-hmm.
But there is like, look at his lips though. There's a bit of sadness, depression, whatever happening there. Like his bottom lip is like upside down.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to look neutral, but there's all these little things, right?
It's like he's in pain internally, like permanently.
It would be challenging to be inside a body where you expect things to be a certain way all the time. Like we always have eggs for breakfast. We always have brown toast. What do you mean there's no brown toast? We need to have brown toast, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anybody else see anything in this guy that you want to bring my attention to, or your own attention, or everybody's attention?
Agnieszka, you notice his ears are slightly different. I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of an angle to the picture and whatnot, but it also seems like his right ear is lower than his left ear.
It's a different size. And also, so the angle is also telling because he's tilting toward the right. So he's listening to his masculine side, right? Much more, than his, not much more, a little bit more than his feminine side. And all over his face, you can see that his eyes are, well, maybe not. He seems different. I would like to do a face split on this dude because we could really see the difference so what a face split is we cut the picture in half along the center line of the face. We put two right sides together and two left sides together. It's one of the exercises we do in the classes, and it just shows how your masculine and feminine are interacting. It looks like two different people. It's very interesting. But yeah, so he's tilting to the right. He is, but also look at the volume on his face. So the right side versus the left side. The left side has got a lot less volume in the front. Like if you look at the distance between his nose and his ear, there's a lot more volume on the right side. Like he's been putting a lot more energy into his masculine. And then his ears, yes, they're different because the left ear is higher, more in the mental, less in the physical. And the right ear is very practical in the emotional zone, but it's not touching the mental zone. And his strap is twisted and it's bothering me. I want to straighten it out.
Would it help to have a different picture of the same person when you analyze?
Maybe. You got more pictures?
Yeah, of course. Can I share one more?
Okay, go for it. You already share screen sharing, so you're in charge essentially.
Okay, 1 second.
Do you want to stop sharing for a second while you pull it up and then put up the share again?
Yeah, now I'm struggling with Zoom. 1 second.
It's okay. We've all been there one day.
Yeah. All right, yeah. 1 second. They are gonna be, I guess it's a very similar one. I don't know, but I'll try. But yeah, I have some more pictures somewhere, but I can't find right now really fast. Hold on, let me find the share button.
You have to start sharing again to show us. Oh, there we go. You did it. You did it. You don't have any trouble with Zoom. What are you talking about?
You just taught me.
That's because you're a freaking genius. That's why.
Yeah, that one
Svetlana, Svetlana is really a genius. She was certified by the Russian government.
uh-oh.
You're hilarious.
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
pretty
same.
much the same. It's from the same
But
day.
like he doesn't trust himself to smile.
Yeah.
Like even standing there for the picture, he's got that RBF going, like Jennifer said. You look cute.
I wish I was better prepared. I mean, I'm impressed. I'm very much impressed. You just figured out the person you never met in your life.
That happens. Does not surprise me. But he's got very much head shape as one of my ex-husbands, you know.
Much of what?
He's got very similar head shape as one of my
Oh,
ex-husbands.
head shape. Mhm.
So I have an unfair advantage and inside. Yeah, no. Well, that's all I have to say. Well, oh yeah, okay. I'll say one more thing about Buddy over there. See all that muscle stuff, like the way he holds his chest. You know, so a lot of people will cover up. Okay, so maybe I did say that in an earlier class, but I didn't say it in this one, so I will. So as we know, as we've covered in the last class, all of the tension and emotional tension is in the fascia, right? So fascia is the white film that holds all the muscles together. And somebody mentioned that they saw a photo of just the fascia. So I've seen there was a traveling show called Bodies with a bunch of dead bodies in it that goes through city to city. And I went to see it one time and I saw all the insides and, they have all the nerves, all the, bless you, Jennifer, all the, all the, veins, all the fascia, just the muscles. They have different like animals and humans where they show these different aspects of a person. And the fascia is everywhere. Like that sheep that was only fascia, it could still stand up. It was just white, the white fibers, but it was still, like there was so much of it that you could still see it was a sheep. It was just all the other stuff, the blood, the muscles, everything was gone. And that fascia stuff is everywhere. And it actually holds, like every time we have an emotional reaction to something, it holds on to it. And so what we do as humans is every time we have an emotional reaction to something, we put a layer of fat on it, or we put armoring on it. This dude has armoring. He's got that chest and it looks like it's super hard. Like if you were to like touch his chest, it looks hard. It's not like, normal chest, but it's like, So he's just like, he's put a layer of muscle on him to protect himself, to put like a cage around his heart because he doesn't trust the outside world, as evidenced by his lip.
True. Yeah, that's so true. Like you figured it out again, 100%. Distrust is another like thing that is really, yeah, that's him.
Does he always have to go to the same restaurant?
No.
That's, at least there's that.
But he distrusts everybody, very reserved, and because of that pain from like some woman that left him a long time ago or like a while ago, I guess. Just
yeah, so living in the past. But why is he living in the past? Why is he still like attached to the woman who left him a long time ago or whenever? Because he's not he's not feel like his kindergarten is not equipped with a proper guide, proper teacher, proper mother, father, whatever, you know. So there is all this abuse going on in his head, and it's coming out. You can see it in his face, you can see it in his body.
I mean, it's sad. He's a really good friend of mine, and I really love him. And I wish I could help. I can feel his pain sometimes, like almost physically. He's like always in pain.
And you, I must say, there is some real emotional baggage in your heart chakra going on right now.
In mine?
So your heart chakra is affected. It's been heavy. Your heart, heavy heart. Yeah.
No, this is a picture from like a year ago.
Yeah, but look at the like there's all sorts of like water retention in your eyeballs, right? And your eyebrows are the heart chakra.
Mm,
But that stuff with your son was happening there too, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't into it at that point. I mean, still.
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting. Thanks for showing me the picture, Svetlana.
Thank you, Agnieszka.
You can stop sharing.
Yeah, I was working on it. Thank you.
All right, we got a few more minutes. Anybody else? Comments, questions, suggestions? Celia, you haven't said much. She's
Well,
relaxing.
I resonated with Lauren 100%. 100%. My daughters are completely the opposite of me. And I'm very happy that I went beyond my upbringing, and I went the opposite way. I even went too opposite. I was too easygoing. I was never a strict person, or I was like, I trust you guys. Do whatever you want. And they're fine. So I don't know. It's just one of those. My dad says I'm lucky. Maybe I am.
Or maybe you gave him a good foundation.
Who knows, really? They lived through a divorce. It was tough. They had a tough upbringing. But life is good.
We can't really, like, everybody has trauma, right? Everybody has weird shit that happens in their life. And often people will be like, oh my God, you went through that. But like, look at you went through, everybody went through stuff, you know? All of our friends, like even if you look at around autonomy, all of our friends have had different kinds of traumatic experiences that built who they really are, who they are today. But it's still like trauma might show you, might take you to a certain level, but you still need to take that next level and clean all that up and stand up for yourself within yourself.
Yeah, the one thing in my favor is though that negative voice that I had for decades is almost gone. Somehow I've managed to silence it. I don't know how, honestly. I couldn't say, oh, I did this, I did that. I just don't have it anymore. It was like a whip, like a constant whip, a constant censoring me myself. And even when I came into autonomy, there was a little bit of that insecurity, that, oh my God, what are they gonna think? It's like what but
We're gonna judge you or something. You're super cool. What the heck?
Yeah, and this is a super, super, super cool community that is far from anything I've experienced. So that's helped a lot. That definitely has helped. Yeah, so that's it.
So it's interesting to me because you're so health conscious and you do all of these hundreds of things for your health, right? But the inner voice thing didn't come up. It did because you've done a lot of work, but it's interesting that you would say that. So that's cool. I mean, we're all learning. And you're probably thinking, oh yeah, I have so much negative self-talk, but it's probably a lot less than somebody else who's done less work on themselves.
Yeah, I've been doing inner work, like the shadow work, even in these past weeks. It's been interesting, an interesting journey. Like again, it's like revisiting another part of me that I had ignored.
When I was in coaching school, they called it the deeper cut, right? Like you deal with yourself at this level, and then you realize that there's whole other level underneath, and then there's a whole other level underneath, and then like, holy shit, there's a whole other level underneath. And I think Marshall could explain that where it comes to astrology with the cycles coming back to deal with the same stuff every so many, whatever, months, weeks, years.
Yep.
Is that an intro?
Okay, Lauren. Sorry, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead, Marshall.
Oh, no, never.
What? No, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's like Saturn cycle. It's like Saturn is your structure. So basically everything we're talking about here is your bones, your hair, your nails. But it goes in cycles. So at 28, you have your Saturn return, which is like most people is a very big upheaval of their life. It's moving from your childhood mind, your adult child mind to being more mature. And then at 35, that's when that maturity really sets in, Saturn square. And when it's Saturn square, your natal chart's Saturn. So whatever the Saturn transit in the sky, squaring where your natal Saturn is your chart around that time will tell you kind of the stuff you're dealing with. And then the dreaded midlife crisis happens around, I think it's like 42 to 45. I might be wrong on those numbers, but yeah, Saturn opposition. So yeah, you can tell a lot, and that's just one planet, but yeah, it's just an example.
No, there's no such thing as midlife crisis. It's actually the end of childhood at 40. I'm serious. A lot of people grow up at 40. A lot of people start their like real careers at 40. A lot of people finish having children and have the time to really express themselves at 40. So 40 and 42, especially the Lancer to Life universe and everything, like you posted, it's, it's very interesting. It's a great age. Right,
That is
Celia?
100% me. Like 100%. Between 40 and 42. Midlife, I mean the end of childhood.
Yeah,
But
and I just use these terms to because they're commonly known terms, but that's yeah, 100%. The people that have actual midlife crisis are usually people that didn't deal with their Saturn return at age 28 very well, or
They
suppressed
didn't
it.
live their truth. People who have midlife crisis because they haven't lived their truth. They've lived somebody else's life in like from 20 to 40. And then they're suddenly like, holy shit, I'm 40 and I don't know who I am. That's what usually it's all about,
See a lot of them at music festivals with a bunch of 20-year-olds dancing around.
Yeah. Okay, Lauren, you had one more photo for us?
Yes, I have never shared my screen before, so just click the
Big green button.
screen. Okay.
And then select the screen you want to share. So you only have one, so you're good.
Okay. And then hold on one second. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see that. All right. So that's a combination face, and I would say it's rounded at the bottom like a circle more than an oval, but I don't know because he's kind of smiling, so maybe I'm not sure if it's a circle or an oval.
I can show you. Hold on one second here. Oops. Where did it go? Sorry.
So the second one is before he
That's
got
when
married.
he was younger.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, what?
Before he got married, right?
He's not married.
He's not married?
No.
So before he got a real job, before he got a corporate job, maybe?
So this is my middle child. He's the one I find myself concerned with most, mainly because he's so reserved. Mm, but so he does live with his girlfriend, and so he is also in a parental role, even though he doesn't have a child. He's living with his girlfriend and her teenage autistic son. And this picture here is probably 2 years old, because he does not like his picture to be taken. So that's the best like front facing picture that I have of him.
Okay, so I would say what I see there is I see the top of the head being a rectangle, and then on the bottom I do see a circle in this picture, in this newer picture. Before it was more like a triangle, but now it's a rectangle or a circle. So what a circle does is like, going with the flow, like allowing somebody to almost make all of his decisions somebody else makes his decisions for him. But then also like that could also mean a little bit manipulative, a little bit like, evading responsibility, maybe a little bit. I don't know. That kind of link, like the kind of silverfish swimming between responsibility. His nose is very strong, so he thinks he's right a lot. And he does have a lot going on in his, like, he's got a lot of thoughts going on, but there's also a lot of self-doubt, like going back and forth, like what I mentioned with you, or like, should I or shouldn't I? Should I do this? Should I do that? That kind of thing, going back and forth in his head. Yeah, but what I see him changing, the younger picture, is that when he was kind of malleable and people could tell him what to do, and people are like, hey, let's go for Chinese. He'll be like, okay, let's go for Chinese, even if he doesn't really feel like it, kind of thing. But now it's more stronger in his bottom chakras in his face, but he's also, like he pretends to go with the flow, but he doesn't really, he kind of does his own thing, maybe.
Yeah, he's very deep, but does not share. He and his girlfriend have a really nice relationship, and I'm so very happy, for him. And he's finally got a job with his older brother, in the roofing business, and so that's his first like real job. And but it was before this picture. I don't know how much that matters, but I find myself concerned about him. When you said shirking responsibility, that makes sense. So I am thrilled that he is like got a big boy job now. And, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
I guess we can stop recording and thank everybody who's watching to the replay. Thank you very much for watching all the way to the end.